Hi, Mom. What do you think?
You look like a gangster.
Welcome to Random Movie Reviews. I'm Nathan, and today I'll be talking about Goodfellas. Well, for those who watched my Raging Bull review, you saw this one coming. I mentioned in that video that I'm going to be doing numerous Scorsese videos kind of indiscriminately, and this was clearly the next film to do, not just because I decided to watch it last night because it was on Tubi, even though I own it on Blu-ray, and I was just like, I don't really know what else to watch. I'll just put on Goodfellas. I didn't even plan on watching the whole movie. I was just kind of throwing it on in the background because I've seen it so many times, and as always, I just got completely sucked into it, and that's just one of the many magical qualities of Goodfellas. Whenever I hear the term perfect movie, Goodfellas is definitely one of the first movies that pop into my head. On a technical level, from the direction, to the casting and their performances, to the cinematography, the editing, the soundtrack to the film, Goodfellas is about as perfect as it gets. I mean, this movie is just, it's intoxicating to watch if you are genuinely a film lover and you love the craft of cinema. You can feel Scorsese's passion for filmmaking in every single frame of this movie in particular. The energy that Goodfellas has is just off the charts. Once this movie starts, I mean, the way this movie starts, with a body moving in the back of a trunk and you're with these three wise guys, and then they end up killing this person, and the trunk closes, and that's where Ray Liotta says the iconic opening line.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
I mean, how do you not get sucked in by that alone? Goodfellas is based on the book called Wise Guys, written by Nicholas Pileggi, who would be a co-writer, along with Martin Scorsese, for the script of Goodfellas.
Having dealt with that world to a certain extent, I felt, therefore, I never really wanted to touch upon that world again. But I found that the style of the book was so interesting, and I try to say, boy, if I can make a film like the style of this book, because what's the point of making another gangster picture?
There have been several books about mob bosses, but it was like getting a hold of a soldier in Napoleon's army. That's who I wanted. I wanted to know how it worked inside.
And it is told from the perspective of the real-life gangster Henry Hill, who went into witness protection to save himself from getting whacked and from going to prison for all of his ties to the criminal underworld. And the movie and the book are both told from his first-person perspective. And because of that, that really gives Goodfellas a very documentary-esque feel.
I think I brought more of almost like a documentary attitude towards it. I wanted to show you the star of the movie is a way of life, not a character. Somebody commented that it's like Scarface without Scarface, but that's what it is. Yeah, we don't need Scarface in the film. You know, it's the way of life. If you grow up around that, what I wanted to show you was the danger of the exuberance of that kind of life.
The amount of detail that Scorsese gets into with this film is extremely like a documentary. And Scorsese doesn't just talk about, you know, the characters and what their criminal actions, like what they do. It gets into the type of food that they eat. It gets into like the little minute details of, you know, the way they talk, the type of jokes that they tell. There's an authenticity that Goodfellas has that feels completely unmatched in comparison to most crime movies, even by today's standards. You know, and Goodfellas has inspired, I feel like, every major gangster movie ever since it first came out in 1990 to a certain degree or another. And for my money, it still is the reigning king of gangster films. And this is coming from somebody who loves The Godfather. The biggest difference there is that The Godfather is more of an operatic, you know, melodrama, very tragic and almost Shakespearean with its tragedy. And it's not really an authentic representation of the mafia, as everybody kind of knows that by now. Goodfellas is very much like, this is the real deal. You thought gangsters were like the mobsters in Godfather. No. They're way worse, and they're way more monstrous. And Scorsese's very unapologetic about how he explores these characters. He also, I mean, I think the detractors of Goodfellas, which Fortunately, there really isn't that many. Most people I know absolutely love this movie. I think what the detractors of Goodfellas, what they don't understand is that they think that this movie glorifies the gangster lifestyle. They think that this movie makes it look, great, to which I respond, have you even seen this movie in its entirety? Because yes, Scorsese does show all the glitz and glamour, and he does show how attractive the lifestyle is, especially to a very young and an impressionable Henry Hill, where, he comes from a poor community and all the guys of wealth and stature and power who get all the money, all the women, all the respect. Those are mobsters. Those are gangsters that in his neighborhood. So he sees it through his, very young and naive point of view. He aspires to be that. The turning point in the film, which is foreshadowed at the very beginning of the movie, is the killing of the made man, Billy Batts. And from there, we see that these gangsters, their lives get turned upside down from that action. The first half of the movie is actually it's a lot of fun and makes the gang lifestyle look cool. It really does. And it's like, these guys can rob, they can do whatever they want, they get to go to the fanciest restaurants, drive the nicest cars, get whatever women they want. But then when we see the killing of Billy Batts, we see all the repercussions that come from that, and we see that all the glitz and glamour that comes with the mafia lifestyle, at the end of the day, it's really not worth it, because you most likely will end up dead, or worse, according to Henry Hill, you might end up living the rest of your life like a schnook anyway. But of course, it's the paranoia and the dread that Henry starts to face towards the latter half of the movie, especially the scene that takes place in 1980, which is maybe my favorite scene in the whole movie, one of the best edited scenes in all of film. Shout out to Thelma Schoonmaker, who has edited all of Scorsese's major, most iconic movies. The editing in that scene in particular is amazing. I mean, that's what that lifestyle will take you to. It'll take you to a point where you are so paranoid and your life is so hectic that you end up getting caught slipping, and you end up going to jail, or, you have to try to trade your life for witness protection, and you end up being a rat. And that's the other aspect of Goodfellas that I love, is that the movie it feels like very contradictory in a lot of ways. Like the opening scene alone, it's like, we see these three guys brutally murder somebody in the back of the trunk, and then Ray Liotta's like, all my life I wanted to be a gangster. And it's like, really? You want to be a gangster? That's the kind of lifestyle you want to be, where you have to murder people in the back of your trunk? Count me out. I'll take the schnook life any old day of the week. That goes into Henry Hill and Ray Liotta's amazing performance. I mean, the entire cast of this movie is just dynamite, from Joe Pesci to Robert De Niro. Obviously, Joe Pesci's character, Tommy, he's one of the most memorable aspects of this movie, and he's kind of like the embodiment of the unhinged gangster. We see it very early on with one of the most iconic scenes with the "What's so funny? Am I a clown? Do I amuse you?" Which, by the way, I need to set the record straight for that. Misconception about that scene is that it was completely improvised. That's not entirely true.
You don't improvise on camera when we're shooting. They all think that Marty just doesn't do anything, that he lets the actor say, okay, go ahead, and he sits there like this, and enjoys it. It's not true. I mean, it's so crazy to think that you can go in there and make a movie like that. It has to be structured.
And that was very carefully worked on. Within our rehearsal period, I was able, as the co-writer, to record several takes, maybe 4 to 5 takes between Ray and Joe.
Scorsese, the way he shoots his films and the way he shot Goodfellas, they did a very long rehearsal period. And there was a time during the rehearsal period where Scorsese wanted his actors to improvise and add elements to their characters. And then if Scorsese really liked it, he would work it into the script. And it was Joe Pesci who had that idea for that scene of messing with Henry by acting really serious and almost like he's going to snap at any moment. Because of a real-life event that actually happened to him. So he threw that in the movie. And that just goes to show you how amazing Scorsese is as a director, because he's smart enough to know that when an actor brings something great to the table, he's like, oh, I'm going to use that. And because even though that scene probably didn't happen in real life to Henry Hill, it still illustrates the danger that can happen in a flash of a second while living in this lifestyle. It does it so brilliantly. And then that kind of foreshadows the event later on, where Tommy straight up kills Spider, a kid played by Christopher of The Sopranos. I know that's not his real name. I forgot the actor's name, but I will always know him as Christopher. That scene later on where he's standing up for himself after Joe Pesci shoots him in the foot and he's giving him a lot of shit. Why don't you go fuck yourself, Tommy? And then he just shoots him. And it's just like, oh my God, it's like, who could be around people like that? And so do the people who say that Goodfellas like glamorizes the gangster lifestyle, I don't see that even for a second, because what Scorsese does is that he shows you the truth. He shows you that, yes, there is a lot of glitz and glamour that comes with this lifestyle, because that's the truth. He's not lying about that. But what also comes with that is murder.
When he shoots that poor kid in the foot, you should know then this is not the way to live. You don't be sucked in by these guys, because it's going to end one way before the witness protection program. It only ended one way. Death.
And a ton of just genuinely evil and despicable shit, and then a lifetime of paranoia. I mean, Henry Hill very tragically died an alcoholic most likely because of his experiences with the gang world and how that ended up haunting him in his later years. And the style that Scorsese uses for Goodfellas, that very documentary-esque style, he would end up using this same template for the other three, what I call the Scorsese true crime quadrilogy movies. And these are movies that I consider to be part of like a series that is like unofficial, that starts with Goodfellas, Casino, The Wolf of Wall Street, and The Irishman. All four of these movies are directly related in that, not just that they're crime movies, but they're based on true story crime movies. They're all first-person narratives where we're getting our lead character's point of view and narration throughout the whole film. And how none of the movies really follow a three-act structure. It's just like it shows you the world in its entirety. It's just bringing you into this forbidden world, and that's what Casino does extremely well. Wolf of Wall Street, which is another one of my favorites, and The Irishman. Those three movies in particular take the exact same template of Goodfellas, where it's like a documentary. It brings you into this world, and it just shows you the debauchery in all of its uncut, raw form. And what I love about Scorsese, outside of the fact that he just was born to make perfect movies, is that he has a lot of faith in his audience. He doesn't feel the need to constantly hold the audience's hand or constantly explain to them that these characters are bad or that you shouldn't idolize these characters. Because from his point of view, it's like, well, duh. I mean, I'm showing you a gangster killing a kid because he told another dude to F off, you're giving me too much shit, and he just murdered him. Common sense would tell you that, yeah, you probably shouldn't idolize that character because he's a monster. And so, like I said, I've read some... There isn't that many negative reviews out there. Most people understand what Scorsese's going for in terms of his movies exploring really flawed characters, where he just shows you and you come to the conclusion yourself. But, you know, just recently I read a 3-star Letterboxd review saying that, oh, it's impossible to really sympathize with any of the characters in Goodfellas because they're all antagonists. And he's like, I feel like there's no winning with me watching this movie. And it's like, well, the characters aren't really designed to be sympathetic. They're just designed to really show you the truth of this lifestyle. And to me, that just adds to how captivating the movie is from start to finish. It's a 2.5-hour movie, Goodfellas. And not even for a second does it feel like it's that long. Like, once it starts, it just goes. And because the actors are so amazing, because the cast is so great, because the direction is so amazing, I mean, just everything about it is just so riveting to me. There's anyone who calls Goodfellas boring, I seriously have to question your judgment. It's one of the most entertaining and rewatchable movies I've ever seen in my life. It is the gold standard for all gangster movies. But anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on Goodfellas. I could talk about this movie forever, but I'll just stop it here for now. Let me know what your thoughts on Goodfellas is. Is this your favorite Martin Scorsese movie? If not, what is your favorite Martin Scorsese movie? What's another Scorsese movie you'd like to see me review? Like I said, I want to do other ones, like Casino is a big one I like to do. Might do that one next. And as always, thank you guys for watching.